Well, I was in the middle of editing my Mario and Luigi Brothership review, and then I saw the Game Award nominations, and I just felt like I needed to talk about this before anything else, because there's a little bit of an interesting discussion going on right now because of some of the nominees, or specifically one nominee for Game of the Year. So this year's list of nominees for Game of the Year at the Game Awards is a little bit interesting. There's a few here that I was definitely not expecting, and there was definitely ones that I expected them to be here that are not here. That's what this whole discussion is about. So this year's Game of the Year nominees are Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor ReFantazio. It's an interesting list, right? Before getting into the main topic of the discussion, let me just set something straight right now, and it's that these Game Award shows don't mean nothing. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I made a video talking about how Astrobot should win Game of the Year, and I still hold up to that feeling. But at the same time, you gotta really understand that these award shows mean nothing. It's really all about just rooting for games and also the announcements at the Game Awards. These award shows don't mean jack shit by the end. It's still exciting to root for your favorite games, definitely, but also taking it super seriously, it's a little bit ridiculous. But boy, there's one nomination here that really rubs me the wrong way. And it's for many reasons I'll get into later, but the one nomination that a lot of people are kinda scratching their heads at right now, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. Now, for those who don't know, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree is actually a DLC/expansion of the popular Souls game, Elden Ring. And I've seen a lot of people excited for this nomination, but I've also seen a lot of people say that this doesn't really make any sense or doesn't even seem fair at all. And the main reason for that is because Elden Ring came out in 2022. This is a DLC that came out this year. So the main discussion around this is, should DLCs be allowed to be nominated for these type of awards, specifically Game of the Year? I think with nominations, especially Game of the Year, there's always heated discussion about this, or at least different topics. Like, a lot of people also say that remakes and remasters should not be eligible for Game of the Year awards, or for really any awards overall, which to me is a little bit ridiculous. At least with remakes, I can understand why a remaster would not be nominated, because at the end of the day, it's just like a slightly enhanced version of an already existing game. But a remake is like building an entire game from the ground up and adding new things to it, adding some quality of life improvements. So remakes, to me, being nominated makes sense, because at least you're changing stuff here and there and improving stuff, or at least trying to improve stuff. DLCs though, that's when things get a little bit tricky with this. I'll say this, I have not played Shadow of the Erdtree. I have not had the time to get into it, unfortunately, but I'm pretty sure it's really good. And for what I've heard, people say that it's so good that it almost feels like its own game. Like, they feel like it's almost as long, if not longer, than actually playing Elden Ring, which is interesting to me. Like, in a way, I almost felt like making that DLC makes no sense. I feel like they should have just made that part of the base game, but that's just a personal opinion of mine. Okay, I'm not gonna get into that. But do I believe that Shadow of the Erdtree should be recognized? Definitely. But I feel like it should be recognized in its own category. Like, I don't know, best DLC of the year, which for what I've heard apparently was actually a category at the Game Awards before, but it got like erased. Like, they just got rid of it for some reason. I don't know why they did that stupid shit. Okay, whatever. You should bring it back to avoid this kind of stuff again. I think what's rubbing people the wrong way, including me, is the fact that they are nominating this obvious DLC/expansion, and in past years we've had like also a lot of different DLCs and expansions to other existing games that were never nominated. I'm talking about Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, God of War Ragnarok Valhalla, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, and more recently as well, Shadow Generations. Where are the nominations for these? If you're gonna nominate this, shouldn't these others be nominated? Now, you wanna get even dirtier about this? What about other DLCs? Like, I don't know, Terry Bogard in Street Fighter 6? To me, that's Game of the Year worthy, if you ask me. Or all the DLC characters in Smash Bros. Ultimate, or all the DLC packs for Fast and Furious Crossroads. You see how stupider this gets the deeper I go with it? Now, of course, with some of the examples I've given, there are a little bit of exaggeration, definitely. I'm just kind of joking around. But at the same time, Shadow of the Erdtree being nominated for Game of the Year does worry me in a grander scale, because by doing this, you're kind of opening the floodgates to stupid people now getting confident that now every DLC can be nominated for fucking Game of the Year or for any nomination whatsoever. To me, DLC/expansion should have their own category, because then introducing them in all these other categories is just going to create chaos. And I've already seen a lot of people, or at least Elden Ring fans, going all defensive about it, being like, well, it should be recognized and it should win Game of the Year. It was one of the best experiences I've played this year. Yes, but it's not a full game. Yes, it might feel like one, but it's still DLC in nature. It's still an expansion in nature. It being nominated for Game of the Year just feels ridiculous. If it was a game on its own, then sure, absolutely, it should be on that list, definitely. But the fact that it's a DLC just makes it very weird, and it also kind of feels insulting to other games that could have been nominated. The fact that Silent Hill 2 Remake was nominated for so many other categories, but somehow it did not make the cut for Game of the Year, it just makes no sense to me. Well, at least Astrobot made it, so that does make me happy. Also, I just want to add that another sneak here is Black Myth Wukong, but I'm not getting into that deep. That's a whole different discussion, okay? But overall, do I really care that much about this? Not really. It's just one of those things that to me feels odd to nominate a DLC for Game of the Year. Again, I understand it might be the best thing that you played this year, but personally, a DLC should not be in the list for Game of the Year. It should be recognized, definitely, but it should be recognized in its own category, in its own lane, with other things related to stuff like Shadow of the Erdtree, not with the top dogs, because to me that feels unfair. It feels like foul play, if I'm being completely honest. And again, it does show a little bit of favoritism from Software, which again is a great studio. They make great games, but at the same time it's like, come on, it's a DLC, man. Another game that was not recognized was Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. That was nominated for Best Family Game, which I'm like, I guess Nintendo game, any Nintendo game just counts as a family game, but really Echoes of Wisdom should also kind of be up there with the big ones for Game of the Year. So it's like, it's an odd list. I don't get it. Really, I'm getting too defensive about this shit. At the end of the day, this doesn't mean anything. Just because a game wins Game of the Year doesn't mean jack shit. The point of the Game Awards is about rooting for games. It's about getting excited for new announcements. And again, it's about celebrating gaming overall, or at least the best parts about gaming. It's just that these nominations really tick me off a little bit, or at least some of them, specifically Shadow of the Erdtree, which again, it being a DLC, being on this list just really rubs me the wrong way. But what do I know, right? Do you agree with the nomination, or are you just as confused like I am about it? Let me know down in the comments. I really want to know what you guys feel about it, because this is definitely going to be an interesting discussion from the lead up to the Game Awards. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and like always, good day, good night, and stay safe.